Well, welcome to Vision Sunday. We are here actually on Monday after Vision Sunday on April 15th. We're recording kind of a recap, Pastor Bruce, of what happened yesterday during Vision Sunday for those that may not have been able to attend. And if you weren't there, you missed out on some good potluck food, right?
Always good food.
Always good food.
Always. There was pulled pork. Somebody smoked a pork belly.
Yeah.
Changed chicken fingers. Everybody loves that.
Great. I mean,
Buntinis.
Yep. One of our staff members said, boy, can this church cook. And I agree. It was all delicious. So we missed you if you weren't there, but we wanted to provide this as an opportunity. If you'd like to know what's happening and what we shared at Vision Sunday, we wanted to kind of provide this recap. So we're actually recording here from our podcast room. So if you're watching the video component of this and you're wondering what in the world is the Unpastorized podcast, we're going to talk about that a little bit later here on today. But that is the podcast that Pastor Bruce and I record each week. It comes out on Mondays. So we're going to get rolling. Here.
Right. And then we're also, just to share, we're going to link the slides also to this podcast and also have them out on the Jerome
just the
group
slides
page.
themselves.
Just
right?
the slides themselves, so you guys can follow along with what's going on.
But as soon as I go away here on video, I'm actually going to put the slides up on top here too. So they're going to see them here as well.
Awesome.
I know.
I love technology.
I know. Technology is amazing. So we're going to get started here with our agenda. And this is kind of what we're going to run through here. We're going to take a moment to introduce the team. There may be some of you out there that don't yet know our staff and our leadership board. We want to make sure you know who those are. We're going to talk about the importance of an MVP of our mission, our vision, and our plan. We're going to spend a little more time on the mission and vision, take a look at our core values, and then we are going to take a look at the vision for Jerome Church. We're going to hear from some of our staff members. And then Pastor Bruce is going to give us some insight onto the vision for the UMC as we're coming up on General Conference just next week. We're going to take a look at our response and sort of a new breakthrough prayer initiative. And then we had on here, we're going to do a closing Q&A. But if you've got any questions, just put them in the comments on this video, and we will be sure to respond to you. Or you can shoot us an email at info@jeromechurch.org.
Fantastic. So why don't you introduce the team?
That is where we will start. First of all, on this slide, you're going to see we've got our first 5 staff members here. These are the staff members that kind of meet each week, along with Kim Snyder, who you'll see on another slide. But we kind of make sure that the missions and ministries are rolling on a day-to-day basis. So these are the staff that you're going to find in the office most commonly. So here we've got Pastor Bruce Dickerson. Welcome.
That would be me.
That's you. And myself, we've got Sara Meriweather. I'm the executive director here at Jerome. Next up, we've got Tara Moore. Tara is our family ministry director, also serves as our student ministry coordinator and our Upward Sports League director.
I love sending her to talk to her supervisor.
It's the best. And then we have Michelle Blackburn, who's our missions and guest relations coordinator. Alise Rich, who is our office and facility administrator. And Melissa White, who is our financial administrator. And just a quick note on the two of them. So actually part of Alise's job, and we'll talk about this when she joins us later as well, but part of Alise's job is to input the giving. So if you're making a donation to Jerome Church, Alise Rich is going to be the staff person to ask if you need a new statement or if you have questions about that.
Right. In church slang, she's known as the financial secretary.
That's right. And then Melissa White is the person who does pretty much everything else financially related here at this church.
She pays the bills.
She makes sure that that our staff gets paid and that our vendors get paid and all of that good stuff. Next up, we've got Robin Fraker, who is our director of contemporary music. Brian Stevens, who's our director of traditional music. And then Casey Baker, who's our early childhood coordinator. It says nursery coordinator on here, but she actually does nursery and preschool. And Kristen Kierson, who is our elementary coordinator. And they both work with Tara. And then on this final slide here, we have Kim Snyder, who is our communication and events coordinator. We have Ellen Verbsky, who is our accompanist in our first service, in our 9 o'clock traditional service. John Sisson, who works with us with our online and worship technology, does a lot of stuff with sound and all the goodies for 10:30 worship.
And he's so behind the scenes that oftentimes he gets referred to as, who's John?
Right. A lot of people don't know who John is, but he's awesome. We love John. And sadly, I don't have a picture here. We're going to work on that. And then our last staff member is Sara Meriweather. He does our contemporary worship contractor. He mostly creates our slides for our second service so that we have songs to sing. So that's pretty fun. So we're going to move along. Pastor Bruce, would you introduce our leadership board?
Yes, we have a leadership board style here, kind of governance at Jerome. They, while the staff oversees the day-to-day, the leadership team gives us the boundaries, and by discipline, the discipline of the United Methodist Church, they also hold the committees that we're required to have. So Stephen Himes is the chairperson of the board and also is on our trustees team. Meredith Branniger is our human resources. Oftentimes in church slang or parlay, this is SPRC, PPRC.
Right. Depending on how long you've been around the church, those may sound more familiar to you. We call it our HR team.
Yeah, and really those, and the only difference between those two terms is, do you just have a pastor? Or do you have a pastor with the staff?
Right.
That's the difference. We also have Matt Haldeman, new to the team this year. He is also on trustees. Matt's interesting in and of himself because he wanted to join the team because he wanted to use the lift to change the light bulbs the gym. So Matt is great. We have Sharon Hinge, who is part of our finance team, along with Mark White, who is the head of our finance team. John Kuntz is on nominations. Nominations basically helps get the leadership team formed every year. We have a certain number of members who roll on and off each year, and then they have to stay off a year also, just for future knowledge.
Right. We
have Melissa Tinlin, also new to the board this year. And then Sarah and I both serve on the board, but we are non-voting, and I'm actually in charge of the nominations team. That's the only team that I'm allowed to serve on as the head.
But you can't vote on it.
But I can't vote on it.
No, it's great. And so we have an incredible team. And I think, Pastor Bruce, you mentioned there's just a little bit of how our structure is put together. But if somebody has a question, just the best way just to come see you to learn a little bit more about our structure here.
Absolutely. Come pick up one of my business cards if I'm not around. That is my cell phone number. You can text me. You can email me. If you do text me, please tell me who the text is so that I know who I'm speaking to, because I don't have everybody's number stored in my phone.
But we've just got a really great team, staff and leadership board. I feel so blessed to be serving with them all. That's my serious part of today. We'll try not to joke around that too much because they're just incredible people doing some absolutely incredible work as we live out God's plan and vision here for Jerome.
Nice segue.
Yeah. So here we are. So we're going to talk just for a little bit about the importance of an MVP. And, you and I both are sports people. We really enjoy sports. So MVP is, something we talk about in sports, most valuable player. But here in the church world, we're talking about it as the importance of having a mission, having a vision, and having a plan. So having those three things together. Right?
I agree.
So the mission is, by definition, really, is we want to provide a broad understanding and we want to guide direction as we live out the mission of Jesus in our local congregation and in our missional context. So, what's our missional context here, Pastor Bruce?
Well, our missional context is what we're talking about, is the place we're serving. We're going to hear Alise talk a little bit later on about the importance of the building. I really look at the building as the center of where we do mission. And so our context here is we are in the middle of Jerome Village, which is north of... It's a plain city address, but we're north of Dublin, which is a little confusing to me.
Some weird mailing situations there,
but we are actually right on the edge of our district, and so we are looking out west of where we are. And this is our mission field. And so we look at Jerome Village, we look at Plain City, we look at north part of Dublin, Shawnee Hills area. This is our mission field.
Yeah. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit more on the vision slide, not to get too far ahead, but talking about really this mission and understanding our missional context is part of our vision for who we're trying to serve.
Right. And so you mentioned vision, and vision is not the same as mission. Oftentimes we get these confused. As we here at Jerome, we combine our vision and core values. And so these are tangible and strategic pursuit of our church's mission. It's kind of how we're going to do and live out that mission. And so it narrows the focus and provides clarity and identity and direction.
That's right. And then finally, we got to have a plan. We need to know what we're doing and how we're going to do it.
I wonder what it would be like if we had a plan.
Well, sometimes I wonder. But
we have a plan.
We do. We have a plan. So this plan is how we live this out through the ministries and missions of Jerome Church. And, we're going to ask the question, what will it take to accomplish the mission and the vision? Right? So that's the question we ask when we're getting ready for the plan there. So we've got a mission statement here at Jerome Church, and the sort of teaser slide here is, do you know it? I hope you do. Do you know it, Pastor Bruce?
This is something that we talk about every week, to love God, to love neighbor, and make world-changing disciples of Jesus Christ.
That's right. That is our mission. It is on the back of our T-shirts. So, if you got to know what our mission statement is, and I think our vision here for people is that we want everyone who calls Jerome Church their church home to be able to say this without having to look it up.
Right. And trust me, if you don't get it word for word and you say love God, love neighbor, make disciples, I'll probably not yell at you.
We're good. Just get the gist of it. It's what we're even more concerned about, right? But mission statements, as a reminder, they provide a broad understanding for us. They're going to guide our leadership's direction. So not just our leadership board, but also the leadership of our staff and even our ministry leaders. They focus on our church's family, and they should reflect kind of the unique DNA of our church, which, I do think can morph and change over time, but we've got to know who we are. And these mission statements are going to dictate the primary values of what every church serves. So ultimately, when we're asking, why are we here? If we had to give, say, an elevator speech on, tell me real quick, what does it mean to be part of Jerome Church? Well, here's what we're about.
To be at Jerome Church means that we are people who are going to love God, love people, and to make world-changing disciples. And so everything we do points to that.
That's right. And we do find some scriptural basis for this in Matthew chapter 22, verses 38 to 40. Find it in John 13, verse 34, and in Matthew 28, 18 to 20, which are really all verses where Jesus is teaching us about what it means to love God and love people. And one of them is the command to go and make disciples.
Absolutely.
So that's where we find that scripture. So next up here, we see our vision. And this is really a two-part vision. And again, as a reminder, our vision is how it's our tangible and strategic pursuit of our church's mission. And it should bring about some unity. And it narrows the focus and provides clarity for how we're going to do this.
Correct.
How we're going to live out this mission. So as a spoiler, this part is, this is not an either or. This is a both and. We're going to do both of these things as we live out our mission.
You have to live out both prongs of this fork.
That's right.
And one of it is very. It's how we do mission and how we reach out to other people. Is we are a group that, yes, we want to grow as a church because it's a mark of spreading the message of Jesus Christ. However, we really talk about the Jesus model here. I believe Jesus did not come to call large groups of people together. He spoke to the 12 disciples. And so we here, part of the vision is to grow deep, to grow wide. And so what that means is we want to form deeply committed followers of Jesus. We want people to grow in their discipleship because we believe the deeper somebody is growing in their discipleship, the more they're going to invite, the more they're going to live a life that is attractant to people, to God, to Jesus, and that's what we want to do. And so we're not necessarily interested in just throwing this wide net out and saying, come to church. We want you to live this out.
Absolutely, which actually is a perfect segue into the second part of our vision, right?
Which is we exist for those who aren't here yet.
Yes.
Here's the thing. There are enough people in this community, and frankly, most communities, to fill every single church to overflowing.
Right, but that's not what we're looking at now.
And so that while that's great, we aren't in competition with other churches. We simply want to share this message, and so we're reaching out to those who are either nominally churched or non-churched.
Right.
If you are attending the Presbyterian church or the Baptist church or Methodist church or, name your flavor of denomination, the Catholic Church. We're happy. We hope you're happy there, and we hope you're living out your mission, and we're trying to reach those who don't have a church home.
I like to say here, and I think I did say yesterday at our Vision Sunday, we are not in competition with other churches.
Yeah, I mean, that's something as people go, well, that church is growing. We should be threatened by. No.
We are not in competition with other churches.
I mean,
we all share, as Christians, the same goal. Now, how we go about it, certainly there are differences, okay? But I actually like that we have those differences, because what that tells me is that if the body of Christ is diverse, what all these different kinds of churches do is they allow opportunities for everyone who needs a church home to have one. And so at Jerome Church, what we're saying is we want to be the kind of church that is the church home for those who do not have one. Not trying to say we're going to be the right church for everybody.
right.
You know, not trying to steal away people from other churches. Not where we're going here, right? So the scriptural basis for here comes from Proverbs chapter 29, verse 18, and in sort of summary, different translations, but it says, where there is no vision, the people perish. So we've got to have vision to live out that mission. Otherwise, the mission statement is just a really nice thing to put on the back of a t-shirt.
Right.
Yeah.
Which we have a nice t-shirt.
We do, but we got to know how we're going to live that out. And then we get here to these core values. And what are core values? So core values are really they're a plan for how we get aligned to our mission and vision. They, ultimately should be things that answer the questions like, how would someone describe our church? These are usually single words or 1 to 2 words. They're things that are demonstrated beliefs. They should govern everything that we do. They determine how we measure success. They are going to help us guide ministry decisions, and they should always align with the mission and vision. And, these are things that are lived in practice, not things that we just sort of say out loud and hope that they come true.
Right. And one of the things that I found fascinating yesterday is while we had some discussion around the tables yesterday, and Sarah and I sat down with some staff and we talked about what we think our core values are. Mm-hmm. And so we have a list of things up on the screen and we'll talk about them here real quick. But nobody said, no, we're not any of those things.
Right. Which I thought was good. At least we're, coming close. So, on this next slide here, I'm actually going to put up the table discussion questions because I think they're good. If you're watching this, in a repeat, ask yourself, have this discussion in your household. And those questions are, of this list of core values on the side, which I'll read through here briefly in a moment. But of this list of core values, what values are we already doing well? That's the question we want you to think about. What are the things that sort of describe or descriptive of how we're doing church? And then, what core values can we maybe get better at doing, or maybe we even need to begin doing? And I think the way to think about that is they're more prescriptive, things that we should really be focused on to get better. And then, we ask, are there any values that you would add to this list? Because to me, the core values are a little more changeable than the mission and vision. Yeah. These are things that, might vary a little bit over time. They should stay similar. So here are the lists that we came up with in case you're just listening here and not looking at the slide here. I want to make sure we say them out loud. But our core values, we listed things like we're invitational, we're evangelistic, we are hospitable, we're generous and loving. We are a high expectation church. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later. We're deeply committed. We are fun. We want to be innovative. We want to be world changers. We are worshipful. We are service oriented. We are authentic, and we are historical and rooted.
I really like that one.
Yeah. I think, when you look at what sets Jerome Church apart, even from other churches, just in our local community, it's that we've been around a while.
Right.
Right.
And a lot of churches can struggle with that.
They can.
It's because almost 200 years of history can come with a lot of baggage.
It sure can.
And
We've been
lot
here
of history.
189 years this fall, I believe is the number. And that, I think, is something that we should celebrate. But what I love about serving in this context and the staff and the board that we have right now is that we want to respect that history and that sort of be authentic to our roots. But we're not afraid to innovate. There are new things happening all the time. And I love that piece because to me, that's saying that's one of the ways that we're committed to reaching people who don't have a church home yet. We're going to reach out into our community. So it's a really cool mix that I don't think we always have everywhere. So in this next section, we're actually going to take a video break from you and I and bring in some segments for our staff members to walk us through their vision for each area here.
Well, let's take a moment and just talk about each staff member
Yeah,
for a moment.
let's do that.
We're going to start off with our family ministry director, Tara. We mentioned her. She is phenomenal, does fantastic work with the kids. We joke that she's her own boss, but she pulls it off fantastically.
She really does.
She wears a lot of hats, but the one thing she has is she has a passion for the children and youth of this church.
She does, and I hope that you hear that in our time together with her today.
And so here is Tara.
We are joined now by Tara Moore, who is our Family Ministry Director, also serves as our Student Ministry Coordinator and our Upward Sports League Director. So welcome, Tara.
Thanks, Sarah. Glad to be here.
Yeah, we love it. You're your own boss twice in our organization.
I am, and I'm reminded of it weekly.
Yeah, it's good. We love all the ways that you serve our kids and families here at Jerome. So on this, sort of Vision Sunday, we want to talk about your vision for our family ministries. First of all, I want to talk a little bit about, sort of this core value that we have and the vision that we have living out of our mission. And that is we want to form deeply committed disciples, right? So talk about that a little bit.
Well, we work on forming deeply committed disciples with the kids every week, with the students every week. But what I think we're missing is the connection between our kids and our students with the rest of the church, and just connecting them so that it feels like they're home with everybody else. They walk in, an adult knows them and says hi to them and asks how their week is going. And it wasn't a scripted thing. They really care and they want to connect because they all care about each other. So connecting them so that they know how loved they are and how valued they are the second they walk in the door here.
I love that. And we really want to help them take ownership of their faith growth.
Absolutely.
So our kids and our students, and you and I were just talking about this earlier today, but we want our kids and our youth to say, I want to serve in that thing. I want to go to that. Hey, mom, dad, whomever, take me to this. I want to be a part of that.
Right?
And
Absolutely.
you mentioned a little bit as well, the importance for you of us, becoming multi-generational. What does that really look like for you?
Well, it looks like more people being involved in students than just the 6th through 12th graders, for example, or more people being involved with our elementary kids than just kindergarten through 5th grade. So one way we're doing that, for example, is this summer, our students typically meet during the week on Wednesdays, but we're going to move it to a Sunday afternoon so we can now meet at somebody else's house each week. So a family in the church that wants to host the students, prepare dinner and snacks for them, and then they sit in on the Bible study with us so they see what the kids are learning. They can also give their point of view and their perspective about what we're learning, participate in the discussion, and then we all hang out. We swim, we play slip and slide dodgeball, we do something fun just to help everybody get to know each other a little bit better. Or we have a group here that meets at Story Point with the older generation in a nursing home, and they do Bible studies with them, and we're going to combine our weekly Bible study with one of their weekly Bible studies so we can talk through what they're learning, they can see what we're learning, and we can all be together and realize that we have a lot of connections even though we might be completely different ages.
Absolutely. I love that idea. I grew up in a small church where we did all kind of have to know each other because we were so small.
Yeah.
And one of the great things I think about the modern church is that we have these incredible kids and student programs where they get to go do things that are age appropriate. But we also do need to be strategic about the ways that we bring them into big church, so to speak, and get them connected.
Well, and it works well in confirmation. So like our 7th graders that go through confirmation get paired up with a mentor, and that sets them up to have that mentor forever and somebody they can connect with forever. But it works so well there, we can model it in other ways.
I love that. So we've got some new programs and opportunities coming up. So give us some of the highlights there.
Yeah, one of our newest programs is called Club 45. Club 45 is specifically for our 4th and 5th grade students, our older elementary kids that are too cool for all the things that we do. They're too cool for school, and they know it. So it's a specific group for them that gets them ready to move up to students in 6th grade, but gives them some more opportunities to do events just with 4th and 5th graders. We went bowling, for example, and their parents came so their parents could connect. So parents of 4th and 5th grade students have other parents to talk to that are going through similar situations with their kiddos at home, but then the 4th and 5th graders get to connect as well. We have a program or a specific donuts with a grown-up coming up for them on Saturday. So they get to do we're actually doing a student lesson, so a lesson that the student group has already done, but they're going to do it with their parents so that we can all do it together and get them ready to be students and kind of take on their own faith and make it theirs.
It's great. You know, a little bit like we see sometimes with college students where they struggle to stay connected to the church. We actually see that with our 4th and 5th graders as well.
Yes.
Because in many ways they've aged out of our traditional kids programming.
Yes.
But they're not quite at that level where they're ready for students. So I love this Club 45. I think it's a great thing and hope it grows really well this year. So you mentioned a little bit about how we want to get, new people connected in. And I think it's important to say out loud that not every volunteer has to do something every week, that you might just be able to sign up and just come hang out one time.
Yeah.
And that would be welcome and amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
So we are always looking for people that want to be back there all the time, right? That want to teach and want to lead in those ways. We're never going to say no to somebody that wants to come back and do that. But sometimes volunteering with the kids literally means coming back and having a donut, listening to their highs and lows for the week, which you may or may not actually want to know, but it's a way to relate with them, what they're going through, listening to what's important to them. And it's amazing how much you can learn from them just from one little thing that happened to them that week.
We laughed about it, but the spoiler here is that, for those who attended Vision Sunday on Sunday, you actually shared some stories about you've got a couple students that have cows.
We do.
And with cows come big cow messes. And apparently that took over a lot of the discussion. So, we say that to joke, but what is important to kids isn't always just the things you might think it is as a volunteer. We're not just there to teach a Bible story. That's super important.
Right.
But we're really there to have relationships with them. And that can look like talking about cows.
Well,
sometimes.
we meet them where they are, just like we want, right?
Yeah.
We want our friends to know what's going on in our lives and meet us where we are. And one of our kiddos just got his new 4-H cow and had quite the messy Saturday with bringing that cow home. And we heard all about it. But, this is a same kid I got to visit his previous cow the year before and found out that cows hug. And now we have a cool relationship dealing with his cows, and it's made us bond over something so silly.
And so would you say, I think your hope is that for those in our congregation who maybe, don't have kids yet, or it's been a long time since they've had kids in their house, or maybe they currently have students or kids in their house, but you want different adults, new adults to form some relationships with these kids and get to have the same kind of fun that you're having.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. Most of the time it is just pure fun. And honestly, even when we're in the Bible studies, they're often teaching me. So people that are nervous about leading a Bible study, we use a curriculum that kind of guides everything. It prepares questions, but more times than not, we're off script because of something that the kid has brought up, something they know, a question they have, and it's just being your authentic self and hanging out with some kids.
So if somebody wants to sign up to be a part of this, or just even, figure out what is actually out there, we've got the Find Your Three form. That's a great place to start.
Yeah.
But they can also email you.
Yeah.
Right? You've got a variety of email addresses that come to you since you serve in so many roles. But tara.moore@jeromechurch.org is the best email to find you.
Yes.
Or you can call the office and we'll get a hold of you that way.
Yeah, or come talk to me at church. If you're hesitant at all, let's have a conversation about it. Come out, try it out. Let's see how it goes.
Great. Looking forward to all the things coming for family ministry. Thanks, Tara.
Absolutely.
Now, Tara gave some great insights to some vision and things she wants to do with the kids. I'm excited about that. There's just so many things she wants to do. I love the Club 45 idea. That's a hard age group to reach.
Really hard. It's when even my own kids kind of stepped away from ministry for a little while.
Yeah, it's probably the second hardest to reach compared to college-age kids.
Yeah,
when you're talking about that age group.
Yep, mentioned that with her. Agree.
Statistically. And then also just come be a part of that program. Getting to know these kids is fantastic. And there are more and more kids every week.
Yeah, so one of the things we talked about yesterday at Vision Sundays, I said, it can be easy when you were, if you've never had kids, but let's say you've had kids or have kids, once you leave a stage with them, as a parent, I find it easy to sort of go like, all right, I'm really done with that. Like once my kids weren't toddlers anymore, I was like, all right, we're done. I was happy to get rid of the car seats. And so sometimes I think it can be easy to say, oh, I've raised teenagers. No way I want to go work with teenagers again. But friends, I want to challenge you. You may have just the thing that teen needs to hear or know, and a relationship with them might change your life too. So, challenge yourself a little bit. If you feel even just a spark of like, hey, you know what? It's been a long time since I've hung out with the youth in our church, and I'm going to figure out how to make that happen. We want to help you get connected to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the second staff member that we're going to introduce is actually one of our newest staff members.
She is, but she's been here for, I think, over a year now on staff.
And she's been at the church, she said, 10 years, which is a long time. But she has a love for this church. She talks about this as going to be her second home, and it is for a lot of our staff. And as a staff, we love each other. But the other thing about Alise is she's taken over a position that this church has never had.
That's right.
Which is that aspect of facilities. And you challenged her to have a vision.
We sure did.
Which is amazing. So why don't we take a moment to hear about that vision?
Sounds great. We are joined now by Alise Rich, who is our office and facility administrator here at Jerome. Welcome, Alise.
Hello.
Alise, so as our office and facility staff person, you were sharing with us as we were preparing for Vision Sunday a little bit about how being on staff has helped you to feel connected, and how sort of your hope is that we're going to offer some opportunities for people to, maybe get connected, even if they're not on staff, but to get connected. So we'd love to hear a little bit about your story. You had a great story to tell.
I have been a member for 10 plus years and have been part of the Jerome Church missions and VBS, and I have just since being on staff has really excelled, and I absolutely want to bring this feeling that I have of our church as my home. I want it to be your home also. I couldn't be more happy with my staff members, the members of the church, everybody who belongs to this church. I wanted to connect everybody together and to come home, to have this as our second home.
Right. I mean, so this is, and it may be a cliche way even to say, but this is God's house. This is the place, the home where we worship together. And it's a historic building, which is amazing, but that also comes with some challenges, right?
Yes.
So you've got a vision kind of to help us care for this home together.
My vision is to bring everybody together and to keep our home, to honor and preserve our home. So I am excited to launch Friends of Jerome Church. Now, this is going to be a new opportunity to serve. This is going to be either a one-time deal, or you can take on a room in the building to clean, to take care of for however long you want to do that for. There'll be many opportunities to do so. Our first opportunity will be this coming Saturday, April 20th, starting at 9 a.m. Come help us clean the outside, a couple things inside to also spruce up the inside for springtime. You're welcome to bring rakes, gloves, shovels, whatever you may need to clean up the outdoors.
Yeah. So I want to suggest to people that maybe are listening or watching, if you've got a to-do list at your own house, right? Take that and multiply it by, 5, 10, and that's the list that we've got here at Jerome Church, because this is a big building, and there are all kinds of little things that we can use help with. So if you've got an hour to give, do you have something for people to do?
I absolutely do.
Absolutely. If you've got days to give, we've definitely got something for you to do too.
I got projects small and big, so lots of things, and in all skill levels also.
Okay, wonderful. I also, while we've got you here, want to introduce you to our congregation so that they know that you are also our person. The way that we separate our handling of money here at the church, finances, is that you are the one that is in charge of entering everybody's personal giving.
I am.
So if anyone has a question about their giving, you're the person.
I am. A simple email or a phone call, I can bring you up to date to your giving status and get that information right away to you.
Okay. And, at our office here, we are open by appointment. That's been our pattern since after COVID. So just if they need to get a hold of you, to shoot you an email or to call and leave a message on the church phone and they can reach you, you're going to get back to them right away.
Absolutely.
Right? Absolutely. Well, Alise, thank you so much for being
you.
here with us today.
Thank you very much.
Now, I can't say enough about Alise. It's hard to think about a vision for a building. And this is part of what we were talking about of being respectful of our past, being rooted there. Is she wants people to come here and love this building. One of the best ways you can love the building is be a part of taking care of the building.
That's right.
We have, and don't get me wrong, we have some fantastic trustees who lead them. Because we talked about earlier Steve and Matt being the part of trustees, but they have a whole team. Including,
we've got my dad, Ron Walker. We've got Brent Blackburn. They do some incredible work to keep our building rolling.
We have a ton of people who are just unspoken.
Yes.
But between a cleaning crew we have, and that there's still a lot of stuff that needs to be done. Changing light bulbs. If you have time, just come and see Alise and be a part of that. But also, really, what she's talking about is this is a fantastic way to be in relationship and meet people at the church, because I think that's her favorite thing.
And that was my favorite part of hearing from Alise. And we knew that story a little bit going into this, and she shared it at Vision Sunday as well. But that is that. Being on staff helped her be connected in a new way that she hadn't been for the whole time that they'd been here in those 10 years. And so what she was suggesting is, if I had just known that doing some of these things would get me connected in the church in the way that I am now, I would have done them long ago. And so I think her hope really is not just to make you busier or to just fill a volunteer commitment, but it's to help you be connected.
Yeah, if you're just looking for busy work, come see Sarah and I.
Yeah,
we can give you some busy work.
We can get you busy work, but truly, I love Alise's vision. So, this next piece is actually our vision for events and outreach. And Kim Snyder wasn't able to come back in today to record with us, but
she has a little baby Charlotte.
But she was with us yesterday on Sunday, did an incredible job talking about some of our upcoming events and really shared her passion and her story. So I do want to share just a little bit of that. So I first met Kim really through a Bible study. She started attending a women's Bible study, and she and her family had been, going through some challenging times. And so that Bible study was a great outlet for her. And through that Bible study, I remember Kim saying to me at the end, I just want to do something that feels like it matters. I want to do something that feels like it matters.
And she was working in the corporate world.
She was. She had a full-time corporate job at the time. And so through their sort of journey to have our sweet baby Charlotte, I like that we claim her. She's ours too here on the staff.
Well, she is the youngest member of staff.
She is. But through that journey, Kim left the corporate world, and then in that sort of time frame came on staff with us part-time. And she is doing an incredible job helping us sort of reimagine and reinvigorate our event calendar and do some things that are just fun. So often you're going to hear us asking for volunteers. And yes, some of these events, they need volunteers, right? We're not going to lie about that, but not a ton. Most of these events really are pretty low on the volunteer ask. And really, friends, what we want you to do is just come out and have some fun, and importantly, invite somebody to come along with you.
It's a great opportunity to build relationships with people in the church. One of the events that's coming up is now named Jerome Fest, and it's our spring craft and vendor fair. And so when we talk about, what's the ask, we need help setting up and tearing down. So it's setting up some tables and chairs and just tearing them down. But really, a lot of the other stuff is easy. If you're good at baking, sign up to donate some stuff for the bake sale, and then come out and buy stuff. I love the fact that we have tables set up and that we have food trucks, and it's an opportunity just to come in and hang out and shop, and it's just so much fun.
Yeah, so much fun. And we've got a brand new event that's coming up here called our Jerome Community Yard Sale, where we're actually going to have people that are taking a parking space out in our back parking lot, and we're going to have a big yard sale set up out there, have some food trucks. It's going to be really fun. That's going to happen on Saturday, June 1st.
Yeah, and all we're doing is renting the parking spaces.
Yeah.
And renting tables if they need them.
Absolutely. So, and it actually was something, I love this. Kim put this out because she lives here in Jerome Village. She put this out on her neighborhood page and said, hey, would anybody be interested in this before we created the event? event. And she got a great response to that. And so that was why we went ahead and had the event. So it's a great. Well, we're hoping that it will help us build connections. First of all, that's our first goal. We want to build connections with our neighbors. But, also it's just one of those, we just kind of want to have some fun together and use a resource that we have. We have this big parking lot. We'd like to use it to serve our community.
Wait, a church can be fun.
I know. It's one of our core values.
It's crazy talk.
Crazy talk. So, friends, if you want to learn more about all the opportunities that are coming up, I talk about them a lot of Sunday mornings. If you're here in worship, you're going to hear from me, but you can find them in our Church Center app and on our website. We've got our full calendar in there and all the event signups you will ever need to be a part of what's coming up here. But show up to some things. It's just going to be fun.
Just come be a part and invite somebody.
And our staff is also, Kim, along with Michelle and with Tara, are also planning a family fun summer series, I believe, is what I've been told. And so they're going to be revealing these events sort of as they come about. And the first one's going to be really fun.
Do you know what they are?
I do.
I'm the pastor. I don't know.
I know. Well, you'll have to wait and see as they're revealed.
All right. Fair enough. So
All right.
Speaking of Michelle,
Yes.
she has probably been on staff probably as long as you have, maybe a little less?
Just after. So I think I started in March of the same year where she started in, let's say, December.
Right.
So we've been on staff 11 years now.
And
Been
she's
on
also
staff
your
11 years.
neighbor, which means if
She
you're a neighbor
is.
of Sarah, you will get dragged in.
She might describe it differently, but it has been great fun to be able to attend with them. We call them our family at this point, friends that become family.
Right.
She
She has two hats.
She does. She is our missions and our guest relations coordinator. So let's take a minute or a few moments now and hear from Michelle. So we're here now with Michelle Blackburn, who is our missions and guest relations coordinator at Jerome. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you.
Michelle, give us an idea what your vision is for guest relations, sort of the first half of your job.
So I would say my main vision would be to create a welcoming and radical hospitality space that connects our current congregation and maybe even someone that's looking for a new home. Maybe they've only been here a couple weeks, just not only to me, but to each other.
So my guess is we need some people to help us with this, right? What is your goal for volunteers on this? How many would you like to have join us? Maybe let's say by this fall.
It would be nice to have about 15 or 20 more guest relation volunteers to help out with that, just to make a complete team.
So each Sunday, do we have spots that go unfilled each Sunday?
There can be, but yeah, I do have some great volunteers that always step in, if somebody doesn't show up. So that's nice that I've got some people that I can lean on for those things. But yes.
Okay. So 15 to 20 new greeters by this fall. So if you are listening or watching this, we would love it if you could join the guest relations team.
That would be great.
Help us create an environment. So one of the things you talked about that's going to be coming up is something you're calling Coffee Connections. Talk to us about Coffee Connections.
So my vision for that is hoping to have maybe like on the second Sunday of each month, being out in the lobby between the 10:30 time frame in between the two services that allow people to come up, whether they're new or they've been here a long time, to talk about things maybe they just haven't had a chance to reach out to someone about, and I can help them with that or have a vision of what they want to do with guest relations.
Okay. So helping kind of bridge that gap between, a new person to our congregation and getting them to take their next step.
Right.
Whatever that might look like.
Right.
I love that. It's a great idea. And coffee is always good. So that's probably going to be in the lobby,
Definitely,
right? In the front lobby.
Yeah. Look for that for more information.
And then we just sent an email this last week to most of the people in our congregation about our church directory. This is not new,
right?
But it may be a new idea for some people. So talk to us about that church directory.
Right. So like Sarah said, we've got a directory that we've had out for a while. There may be some new people that didn't realize we had this directory, and that just helps people get connected. And like we've talked about, maybe you need somebody's address, a birthday. That directory will allow them to go out and get that information, allows congregants to opt in if they wish, and they can share whatever information they want if they want to share their birthday or an address.
Right.
And so that allows someone like myself.
It helps people's data stay protected.
Right.
They're able to share what they want to share with the rest of the congregation.
Right.
So I think it's a great idea. And I grew up in churches where we had like the old school church directory. We don't do those anymore, mostly because of data protection laws. laws and all the things. But this is a kind of the second best to that, really a great way for people to stay connected. Awesome. So let's move on to missions, which is the other half of your job. And you do a whole lot of things here at Jerome to keep our missions running. So talk to us a little bit about your vision for missions.
Well, with missions, our strategy has always been that we like to have 100% of our congregants be connected with some type of ministry, at least once a month, being connected, whether it's, Diaper Angels or Soup for the Soul or one of the ministries that we do here. So getting at least the multi-generational together to do something once a month would be ideal.
Right. And we are not out of opportunities yet.
Nope.
Right. Nothing is at capacity. So there is room for you. And our expectation when we talk about finding your three is this whole idea that we want everyone who calls Jerome Church their church home to serve in and outside of the church at least once a month.
Once a month
So,
would be great.
If everybody would do that, we would be well over that 100% mark. It would be no problem. Right.
Right.
So you've got this really great vision for an early response team here at Jerome. Talk to us about that a little bit.
So early response team is a team that we're trying to create that will allow our congregants to go out and help either locally or if there would happen to be a disaster. So it would be nice if we can rely on a team of 30. So if there would be a disaster, I can, deploy maybe 10 to 15 at a time if that need would come up. So it would give them the skill set to go out to be prepared for something like that.
So right now we have 5 people that are certified through the UMCOR process, which is our United Methodist Committee on Relief, the disaster relief arm in the United Methodist Church. But the vision for this is to get them certified through that, so they have that certification. My understanding is that even is recognized by FEMA. Is that right? Their certification, so they can go into, disaster sites and serve.
We're
in
called
that way.
upon.
Called upon, yes. But the vision for this is even to extend beyond just those disaster reliefs. Like most recently, we had a team called up for the initial stages in the Indian Lake area cleanup, and we anticipate that maybe in the next few weeks we may get another call.
Right.
Because it's usually about 30 days after something
yeah.
happens. But this whole idea of growing the team to about 30 is to start doing things here locally for our neighbors who might be in need.
Right.
As well.
You may not be able to go on our mission trips that are outside of local here. And so it would be nice if there were things that came up that we could do locally to help people in the community. That would be great because not everybody has the time to go take a week's
Right. So if somebody needs use this example, but if somebody needs a ramp built, right? That's something our team could do.
Yeah, definitely.
We have a trailer, we have tools, and we're hoping to have more people. That's what we're short on.
Right.
So the next opportunity, if somebody wanted to be part of the early response team, we've got a training coming up on Saturday, May 11th, right?
8 to 4 is the time frame we're looking at. Hopefully not that long, but yes, that is something that will be held here at the church. And again, I'd hope to have a good response to have that team built.
Right. And it won't be the last training that we have. So if you missed that one, it's okay.
Yep.
But if this interests you at all, and does anybody, we have to have special skills to do this, Michelle?
Not really. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Sometimes you just got to show up.
Right. And you can just learn about what they're talking about and see if that's something that interests you.
Awesome. And then kind of this last question I have for you about missions is, we're always looking to develop leaders. Do you have any opportunities right now if somebody's looking to take not to go beyond just a monthly serve and maybe take a step of becoming a ministry leader? What are some opportunities that we have?
One of the things I can think of right now is our Diaper Angels. We just had a big, huge drive and we have all these diapers that have been packed up, but I need to help get them delivered to our partnerships. I like to get out and think of creative other ways that we can collect diapers, within the community that somebody may have. So I could, like to have somebody to discuss those ideas, think of some different ways
and even coordinate some of that for you.
Definitely,
right?
That would be great.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Anything else you'd like to add on these two areas?
I don't think so, but I thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, come find me.
Absolutely. Come find Michelle. You can get her email. It'll be, we'll put it along here, but you can find her on our website as well at jeromechurch.org.
Great.
So, thanks, Michelle.
Thanks for having me.
Now, I have to tell you that I know Michelle hates talking on camera and stuff. She does a fantastic job. She gets really nervous, but she has a passion for both guest relations and also missions. She has that need. Oftentimes what happens is when she talks about missions, I bring tissues along because she's so passionate. And she's like, I don't need a tissue. But she has come up with some great events. The one I love the most on her guest relations side is this idea of the coffee connections.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun because she's been looking for a way to connect with people for a while.
Right. And so, but for her to connect with people, she also needs that servant base.
That's right.
And it's easy things. Like if you are a new person at this church and you want to get to know people, become a greeter.
Yes.
You just hold open the door and say good morning, and you can introduce yourself and things like that.
You don't even have to
great.
shake hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bump knuckles. Just give them the nod.
Just say hi.
But the whole idea of coffee connections, which I still think we should have called coffee talk personally, because I just want to,
Coffee talk.
I'm feeling a little verklempt. Okay, discussion. The Holy Roman Empire is neither holy nor Roman. Discuss.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Not today. But as we really kind of wrap up this section with our staff, as we enter in our final sort of piece of vision here, I just want to call out and say, man, do we have an incredible staff, because this only is really tip of the iceberg. I mean, we have so many other staff that are doing incredible things, like Brian and Robin, our music people. They are working tirelessly to bring us great music and worship each week. We just have incredible staff all the way around. Some people that you see, some people that are much more behind the scenes. It doesn't mean they're any less important to us. And I just want to call out that we are so grateful for everyone that's on our team, and so glad they're a part of what we do here at Jerome.
I feel blessed as a pastor to lead this team. Is the fascinating thing to me is we have a team that it looks like a really large staff, and it is a large staff, but most of them, well, except for you and I, are part-time.
Yes. Yeah.
And
most have other jobs.
Yeah.
Not all, but most do.
And they have this passion for this. And I hope you heard that passion as they discuss. Sit down and talk to them. And the other thing is, to be on a staff this size, they all like each other.
Yeah, we really do. We have a lot of fun together, and it shines through in that. We sort of joke that we're like mama and papa bear for them sometimes, but as their mama bear, that nothing makes me happier than to see them getting along and having fun together. Like I loved it when we challenged Alise, say for example, to come up with vision. Tara and Michelle said, "You know what? We're going to help you. Let's go out to breakfast and plan this together," and they did. And so I just want our congregation to hear, friends, you've got an incredible staff serving you, and our staff's job is to uplift the congregation to do the work of ministry. So, let's work on that together, that we can be partners in that ministry, but they are just so amazing and skilled and gifted at what they do.
Yeah, and speaking as the Papa Bear, as I get called occasionally, I like that they get along because it means they leave me alone.
Oh, come on. All right, so we're going to move forward. We've got this last one here, our vision for growth and discipleship. And Pastor Bruce, this is a piece that you and I kind of tag team on in terms of discipleship here. And so we want to talk about what our vision is really for our congregants to grow as deeply committed followers of Jesus.
Well, it's what we're about. It's 1/3 of our mission statement. As we're growing as disciples, we're going to love God more. We're going to love our neighbor. They just are intertwined and they work together. As we become more focused on discipleship and focus on God, we're going to find out that God opens our hearts and sends us out.
Yes.
It's just a model of discipleship. And so every person who calls Jerome Church their home, we want them to be deeply committed disciples and committed to really growing in their knowledge to following Jesus. We actually define discipleship or a disciple as James Harnish in his book, A Disciple's Path, a follower of Jesus who is centering their life on loving God and loving neighbor. Mm-hmm. There's this idea of movement, of growing, and it shows itself in different ways. We talk about in worship, bring your Bible every week.
Yeah.
Whether it's on your phone or that's a mark of discipleship. Being prepared to come to worship is a mark of discipleship. The prayers, presence, gifts, service, and witness are all marks of discipleship. Becoming a member of the church, serving in the community, these are all marks of discipleship. And so we want to help you do that. We actually look as part of our job we talk about what the job is of the pastor and what the job is of the executive director. But one of the major parts of our job is to resource
Yes.
people is we can't spoon feed you.
We cannot.
But we can.
You like to say if you're counting on, being fed by just attending on Sunday mornings and hearing a sermon or attending worship or even going to a small group, that's not going to be enough.
It's not one of those things alone.
Right.
It's developing a life.
It is. And so some resources that we have here, are things like our Grow resource that you can get every Sunday when you're here in worship, or you can download it online or find it in our Church Center app, right? We have our Grow board where we have consistently kind of rotating resources there that include studies that you can do using Amplify Media. There are books on there. We've had some really good feedback on some of the books that have been there. People are really enjoying some of the ones, particularly by, authors like Adam Hamilton. There have been some great books we've had up there.
And we're paying for Amplified Media. Use it.
Yes, use it. It is a free
It's fantastic.
resource to you.
There are group studies, there are personal studies. If you have questions, so it's just another for you. It's a free resource that the church is supplying.
We also have, as our plug here for the Unpasteurized podcast, actually just this week, the podcast that came out, we joked it was our longest one ever. And that was because we were talking about discipleship. We got pretty excited. we just kept talking about discipleship.
We may have a slight problem.
Yeah, but it was a lot of fun. So the Unpasteurized podcast, very typically, we are unpacking on Monday morning the message from the Sunday right before it. And so if you want to take that next step and kind of learn more and dig into the scripture, if you want to ask some questions, and if you want to, hear us challenge each other in our own sort of faith journey, that is the time to tune into that.
And understand, it's not a repeat of the sermon.
It is not.
It's not a replay of the sermon. Actually, what tends to happen is the stuff that we don't have time to get to in the sermon.
That's right. That's how we spent, over an hour talking about discipleship this week. And then finally, we talk about YouVersion as a resource. So, if you love paper Bibles, that's great. I certainly have a collection. Pastor Bruce, I know you do as well. But I also always have my phone with me. And so having that YouVersion app, it's a Bible app on your phone, is just a great way, friends, to make sure that you stay in Scripture every day, because part of how we're casting this vision for growth and discipleship is we're going to have a new minimum expectation for everybody who calls Jerome Church their church home, and this is not going to be the last time you hear about it, that the minimum expectation is what?
5 verses a day.
Right, that's it. Read your Bible at least 5 verses a day.
Yeah, that's it. And we'll talk about expectations, ideals. If you've been a part of this congregation for any amount of time, you know it, you've heard it, but it's 5 verses a day.
Now, would it be great if you read more? Sure. But 5 verses means you're getting some context. It means you're opening up somewhere. We want you to get into God's Word. Friends, don't be a Christian in name only.
Right.
Understand what God has to say to you.
And the expectation is greater than reading the shortest verse in Scripture 5 times.
That's right.
Because the shortest verse is Jesus wept.
That's right.
But if that's what you're going to do, start there. And hopefully you'll get curious about why he wept.
Yeah, hopefully. So, a lot of times when we talk about discipleship, people just immediately say, oh, small groups, that's what discipleship is. And it is that too. So I do want to mention that, but that's not all discipleship is. But if you're not yet in a small group, but you're interested in joining in a small group, coming up this fall, we're going to have something called Circle Up, which is going to help us get people connected to small groups. So that's going to happen. If you want to be in a small group right now and you're not, in a little bit, we'll talk about completing a Find Your 3. Do that. Let us know that you have an interest in small groups. And when we have enough people that have that interest together, we'll start getting some new groups formed.
And we both have long-term small groups, which is always our hope. But we also have some short-term small groups by joining a fall group or a spring all-church study.
So many ways to get involved in that.
And we actually have an opportunity coming up before this fall. How many people struggle with money? It's one of those things where we have debt. We're going to talk about shortly about being generous givers and things like that as a part of our vision. But, my wife and I struggled. I still had seminary debt and we had some credit card debt. And just this past year, we took Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University, which we offer here, and my wife and I are now out of debt. We're looking at how to get my daughter through college with almost no debt. We're doing all those things. And so we're going to offer Financial Peace University. It's going to be launching in June. Be on the lookout for that. And I made an offer yesterday, and it stands. If you are a member of this church and you are hearing this, and you are one of the first 3 people to contact me that you want to take Financial Peace University, I will pay your tuition for Financial Peace University.
That's an incredible offer.
That's how much I believe in this.
I know you shared with me. I mean, it really has changed your family's financial life. That now you're in a place where I don't think this is information I can't share. Where your family's now able to tithe, which is something very important to you. Where your whole family can do that, very important to you.
Right. Where I've always said I was able to tithe.
Yeah.
But when my wife was in a different place because she was looking at our debt and stuff.
Yes.
And now we're just at a place where we've come to an agreement and being out of debt, and she worries less. Most families are made up of 2 people, the money worrier and the money spender. I'll just say I'm not the worrier.
Okay, that's fair. I'm not in my house either, so we're maybe not good in that way. But it also, you've got a daughter going off to college, and so these are all things that have helped you feel much better about your financial future and financial freedom. And I think it's this idea that, and we'll get this as you mentioned when we get to the generosity pieces, but I believe that people want to be generous. I think that's when we're Christians, when we follow Jesus, we want to be generous. But a lot of us have real practical reasons why it's difficult to be generous. And so when we can find some margins, some financial freedom, that gives us the opportunity to do more of that, to be generous in ways that maybe we haven't been able to be before.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more. We're going to talk about some of the functioning things. We talked about YouVersion.
Yeah.
Next slide shows how you can sign up for YouVersion, but also you can actually follow Jerome on YouVersion. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I would love for you to do that. So on YouVersion in the app, we actually have Jerome Church set up where you can just follow us on there. And what that means is when we do things like feature a plan, you can follow along. So right now we've got a sermon series. It's all about the letter of 1 John. And we have a plan in YouVersion right now that's, guess what? All about the letter of 1 John. So if you're trying to figure out how in the world am I going to commit to, reading 5 verses of the Bible a day, a YouVersion plan is an excellent way to start. It is really going to lay it out for you. So if you follow us on there, you can scan this code or go into the YouVersion app and just search for Jerome Church and follow us that way.
Right. And then we also want to help you live out that commitment we're talking about to participate in the life of the church through the prayers, presence, gift, service, and witness. The Church Center app is phenomenal, but one thing on there is Find Your 3. And we want everybody to fill out Find Your 3 at least once a year. Yeah. Because what it's going to do is we talk about, we want you to be able to worship once a week. That is an expectation and an ideal is we want you to commit to find a way to worship regularly, weekly, and also attend and invite others. And guess what? You can do that through Sunday morning worship. We have that 9 o'clock and we have a 10:30 worship. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, we still have our worship series out online.
We sure do. And so you can still hear every week's message online on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook page and on our website, actually, right. And in the Church Center app. So there are a lot of ways that you can worship there. And then we've mentioned this already today at length, but we want you to find your ways to serve inside and outside of the church at least once a month through your unique set of ministries and missions. And so when you fill out this form, it's going to kind of populate all these different ways that you might not even know exist, ways that you can serve. And we've just added a new piece to this Find Your 3, one of those reasons to make sure you're filling out a new one, where we actually ask for things like your hobbies and your vocation or your educational experience. And that's not for us to...
We're stalking you.
Yeah, it's not for any of that. It's because our staff really wants to work hard to help you find your most, unique and well-suited way to serve within the church. And we're going to, with this expectation, we have high expectations, right? So we're going to be a high expectation church. The expectation is we want you to serve in and out of the church once a month, but we want to do it We want you to do it in a way that suits you and meets your unique skills and gifts.
Yeah, and finally, we want you to grow.
Sure
which,
do.
Guess what? Discipleship. Commit to daily Bible study, at least 5 verses a day, and gather with other Christians in small groups to pray, learn, and grow together.
Absolutely. All right, Pastor Bruce. So, as we move into this next part, we're a United Methodist Church, and as part of that, we have an upcoming thing called General Conference. It actually begins on April 23rd, and so we did spend a little bit of time during our Vision Sunday highlighting this upcoming General Conference. And just as a side note, the one that's coming up in 2024, April 23rd of 2024, is actually the 2020 General Conference. Explain to us first why that is.
COVID.
Yes, the one word.
COVID.
That's right. And so got delayed to 22, and then still, because this is a global conference, there were still individuals that had a really difficult time getting travel visas.
Right.
And so here we are in 2024.
Okay, and so here's the deal. In the United Methodist Church, there has been what some people would say is a split. There have been some folks who have left the United Methodist Church, formed their own denomination known as Global Methodist Church. But also, what that split really was over is dealing with human sexuality. LGBTQ plus. And what we're dealing with is in the United Methodist Church, there's something known as a restrictive language that the discipline basically says all people are of sacred worth. However, homosexuality is not compatible with Christian teaching. And that language went into our discipline in 1972 at that General Conference. Guess when the United Methodist Church formed?
1968.
And therefore, we've been arguing about it ever since. It's an issue that really deals mainly with ordination and performing marriage.
Right.
Now, people often go, so what's going to happen at this church since there's been this divide in the church and you've had a section of the church leave? On average, about 25% of the United Methodist Church has left the denomination.
In the United States.
In the United States.
Right.
And roughly half of that, so about 12%, joined the Global Methodist Church. All the rest of them either went non-denominational. There's all kinds of things. Beyond that, people are going, so what's going to happen at this General Conference? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just real honest about it because every piece of legislation that is similar goes into committee to get perfected. And so you can go out there and look and see what's out there. But, there's something called regionalization, which is there's a movement for that, which would allow different parts of the United Methodist Church to change the discipline upon their mission fields. I have a feeling that may pass. I have a feeling the restrictive language may be taken out. But the one thing I want to talk about here at Jerome United Methodist Church is something that I've talked about passionately since I got here.
Right. And I think it answers this question. How does this impact your own church?
For us, it doesn't. Yes, it will change some things at a higher level possibly, but the reality is our mission is to love God, love people, make disciples. And guess what, folks? That means we have people on a lot of different issues on both sides.
We do.
Whether it's human sexuality, whether it's politics, whether it's what sin is this, what sin is that, how we interpret Scripture. We have biblical literalists who would tell you the world is roughly over 6,000 years old.
Right.
And we have folks who are all about the Big Bang Theory and intelligent design. We have people all across the board. But guess what? They agree that the main thing is to love God, love neighbor, make disciples, and everything else becomes fun fodder.
Right. And so that's what we're trying to stay about here is that, it may sound in a sense that we haven't, chosen a side, and that's because we've chosen to be white hot in the middle.
Which is to love people. And so regardless of who you are, when you come into this congregation, the expectation is you will be loved as Jesus loved, period.
Amen. And actually, at our Vision Sunday yesterday, that part got some applause. And that told me that we've got a church that is standing behind this idea that we can wrestle with the hard things. We might even disagree on some of these bigger hard things, but where we are aligned and where we agree is that we are going to be about the mission of loving God, loving people, and making world-changing disciples. And the rest of it, we're just going to figure out as we go.
So if you want to come and talk about it, come find Sarah, come
Absolutely.
find myself. I love these conversations. They're great. But we're going to end up at the end, hopefully, embracing his siblings in Christ and continuing on with the mission of the church. But if you want to learn more about what's going on with the General Conference, on this slide, you can go to resourceumc.org and you can actually look up information on the General Conference. It'll probably be listed actually under General Conference 2020.
Yeah.
But if you look for the dates, they're this year, and the theme for this year is Know That I Am God.
Yeah. I am strangely looking forward to this happening, right? It will be nice just to kind of have this under our belt. It's been 8 years since the last General Conference of the United Methodist Church. That's too long. We've joked about a little bit that for better or worse, the United Methodist Church is organized very much like the United States government. So if you heard Pastor Bruce say, things go into committee and legislation, it's because that's how it's modeled.
Yeah.
Right.
And sometimes it runs better and sometimes it runs
does.
worse.
But I think it's a good reminder here that the process for change can be pretty lengthy. To your point, they've been trying to change this language since they put it in 1972. And so we don't know what the outcome of this conference will be. We have some ideas, but we don't know. And what we want you to hear as our congregation is that any substantive changes, anything that really changes our discipline, we're going to communicate that to you when those decisions are finalized, which could be a year or more.
It's actually a year or more after that,
Yeah.
which is why it takes over a year to reprint the discipline.
Right.
Is because they have the General Conference, and then whatever comes out of General Conference actually has to go get approval from every annual conference from when it's a change in discipline from around the globe. It's a lengthy process, but guess what? What we're going to do is we're going to focus on the same thing that we have clear through COVID since I got here. That's right, folks. If you didn't know, I started during COVID when the church was shut down, and my message has stayed the same because it's been the message of the church for 2,000 years. The greatest commandment is to love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. The second is like it, to love your neighbor as yourself. Mm-hmm. And then I know Jesus told me to go and make disciples, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and teaching them all that Jesus taught us.
That's right. So, friends, we know you may have some questions about this, and that's okay. We just want to set up an opportunity for you to ask those questions. Hope that we are being as transparent as possible on this. Nothing to hide here. There's just not a lot of information to share at the moment. So We're sharing what we know, and we will share in the future as we know more. Again, if you have questions, we are here for you.
Once again, not hard to find.
No, not hard to find. So some questions for you just to think about as we kind of, move into this next section is, when you think about the mission, vision, and plan of Jerome Church, what are you most excited about? What would you like to learn more about, perhaps? And I want you to think about, how is God possibly challenging you to take your next step in faith? And that stands for Pastor Bruce and I as well. We've all got a next step in faith to take. And, what is it? So if you have more questions, we want to encourage, truly find a staff member and know that we are ready and we are excited to help. We're not afraid of the hard conversations. We want to have them with you and help us all grow together.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we move into this next part, we're going to be talking about our response. So this is really as we look at, kind of like our plan as we live out that MVP. This is our response. So the first one is, our response is commitment.
Yeah, and we talk about this as a covenant commitment. We make a covenant when we come into the church with God and with one another to be in relationship and fellowship with one another. And so there are expectations and there are ideals for people who are part of Jerome Church. And when we talk about ideals are the extreme of what you have to do. Like we talk about the ideal of Christianity is to become like Christ, to reach that point of Christian perfection.
Yeah.
The expectation is
a
that
good ideal. Yeah.
The expectation is that you are becoming a disciple of Jesus, centering their life on loving God, loving neighbor. That's what we talk about. And so at the church, we want you to make a covenant commitment. It's a mark of discipleship. We call that mark of discipleship membership. It means that you're going to give your prayers, presence, gifts, service, and witness to this place called Jerome. It's not multiple choice. It's not either or. It's an all or nothing. You either are a Christian or you're not. We understand if you don't get it perfect, but say you're going to strive to do these things. That's the expectation.
Right. And even if you do not choose to take the next step of becoming a member of this congregation, we hope that you do, because it says that you're making that covenant commitment. But even if you don't, really thinking of ourselves as a high expectation church, listen, if you call this your church home, we're still going to have the expectation that you're living out your support of this church through your prayers, your presence, your gifts, your service, and your witness.
Right. Now, membership, you've heard me say this, and you always kind of laugh when I say this, is guess what? Church membership is a mark of discipleship. I am not a numbers guy.
No.
If you want to talk to the data person, it's Sara. If you want to talk to the data's fun, but I got things to do, it's me. But the reality is this. There are no benefits to membership in the United Methodist Church. It's all responsibility. The only
That's
benefit
right.
is occasionally when we have a church conference every year or we have a church conference, you get to vote.
But I would even say that in itself is a responsibility.
Yeah.
So one thing is, if you are, say, for example, interested in serving on our leadership board, you do need to be an official member
Right.
of the congregation. And so there are some things that, I don't want to say they're not benefits, but they sort of open the door to additional responsibilities if that's something that you're interested in.
But if you're interested in what are the things I list? So if you want a pew to sit in, guess what? You're going to have a pew to sit in here whether you're a
Right.
member or not.
That's
if
right.
If you want your children baptized, after a conversation, I'm going to baptize your children or you. If you haven't been baptized before, if you want to get your child married here, with the exception of whatever the discipline says, I will probably do that after I ask you a few questions. It's always up to my discretion. But if it comes down to you want me to visit you when you're sick, you want me to call you when you have problems, you want me to be at your hospital bed before you die, and you want me to bury you when you die, I'll do all those things
That's right.
without you being a member.
That's right. Now, you did call me out for being the data girl, and I've never seen a spreadsheet I didn't love, but I do want to call this out because I like numbers because I know that numbers represent people who are making life change.
Right. And
Right.
It also goes to show that the changes we're making, the things we're doing as Jerome Church, as
sure.
members, we are responsible to ultimately God, but we're responsible to our members to say we're doing these things and it's working.
We have to have some metrics for measurement, right? There is some quantitative measurement for what we're doing.
Metrics.
I know they're not your favorite, but I know you love this metric.
I do love this one.
So we sort of restarted our Discover Jerome process back in the mid-fall in November. And
Because we had all the time in the world to do it.
right, we had no time, but we knew that that's what God was calling us to do.
Right.
And it's something that we hadn't really restarted well after COVID. It was something that was happening before, sort of in occasionally when people were interested, we had classes. But we made the commitment beginning in November, we were going to do Discover Jerome the first Sunday of every month. And that's going to continue. On the first Sunday of every month, we're going to have a Discover Jerome class, which is for people who are new to this congregation and want to learn more, or for people that want to take a next step of membership. And out of that, we have had 35 adults attend Discover Jerome in the last 6 months, and 26 of them have become new members, and we've celebrated 6 baptisms out of that. So that's an incredible, those are numbers that I love to hear. So we've got people that are making a commitment to take their next step. A lot of them are becoming members because they are now informed about what that means and they're ready to take that step of commitment. And then we've got some people that are getting baptized for the first time. These are all really great things that we want to celebrate.
That's phenomenal.
It is. And so, friends, we know that this can sound like a checklist. All these things, prayers, presence, gifts, service, and witness can sound like a checklist, and all the things that come out of that sound like a lot to do. But we want to remind you that it really is about being in relationship with God and responding to his love and grace. That when you're in relationship with God, instead of going, I got to read 5 verses in my Bible today because Pastor Bruce told me to, you wake up in the morning and you're like, I cannot wait to open up my Bible and see what God has to say to me today. Right?
Yeah.
That's where we want to shift our mindset.
Well, and even more than that, if you are doing any of this because Pastor Bruce told you to, you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
That's right.
Okay? When we talk about that relationship, the question you need to be asking is, Jesus died on the cross for me, for my sin, for my brokenness, so that I could be in a right relationship with God as it was meant to be. What is my response to that?
Absolutely.
If you're doing anything because, well, Pastor Bruce told me I had to, ooh, you got some other issues. Nobody listens to me.
Right. I mean, we start from our relationship with God. That's where all these things have to start from. We flow from the overflow from that. Right. And so, if you're struggling with that, really, in this idea of commitment, we would love to talk to you, help you take your next step. We want to meet you wherever you are. There's not judgment here. Right? Just setting high expectations, because that's what Jesus deserves and what God desires.
Right.
Right. So our next piece here, we're going to move into some vision for a practice called extravagant generosity. So extravagant generosity really is one of the 5 fruitful practices, which comes from the book by, I think it's Robert Schneezy.
Correct.
Is that right? But we really want to be a church here at Jerome Church that operates with an abundance mindset. So we want to be giving generously to support the work of God through the ministries and missions of Jerome Church. So, talk to us about that a little bit, Pastor Bruce.
Yeah, it's one of our core values. And quite frankly, what people fail to realize is, the church is going to talk about money. I've actually, as a pastor, spent very little time talking about money, but the fact of the matter is I'm passionate, not because of the money itself. Understand that. What it's about is we often don't realize that, I asked this question to the group yesterday and they got it wrong, shockingly, is what did Jesus talk about more, money or love?
Well, it would seem like love. But,
we talk about that one the most, but he talks about money more because it tends to be one of the number one barriers to loving God. Where our heart lies, everything else lies. And so we're going to talk about all kinds of things and future visions, but we have to talk about this. I am passionate about this because there are 3 goals we have. And the first goal is that I want to see the ministries and missions and all the stuff God's calling us to do to be fully funded in our annual budget. And right now it's not.
Wouldn't that be incredible? I think we want that goal. We want to fuel innovation. So to keep visioning and dreaming forward. You've heard the passion from our staff members today about the things that they want to do. Those take resources to accomplish. We can't just have great ideas. We have to have some resources to make those possible. And so, we need to make sure that we're fully funding that budget as we live out the mission and vision.
Yeah, and there's lots of things God is calling us to do. For instance, the Diaper Angel Ministry we did a phenomenal thing. And yes, I got pied in the face for it.
Sure did.
But the reality is those diapers we bring in, those 60,000 diapers is about 20% of the overall need.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
In this community.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's growing. I want to be able to fund that 100%.
Yeah. We're going to talk about the what ifs even as we get to the end of this here. And I think that kind of takes us into these next pieces. So, we want to be developing generous givers that, like I mentioned earlier, I really do believe that all of us want to be generous. And we all maybe have barriers. Maybe it's how we were brought up, or maybe it's the current financial situation in our household, or we're in between jobs, or we're retired, whatever it might be.
But we want to be a church that can help you with those things.
Yes.
So, for instance, the first step is if you were struggling with money or retirement or anything like that, take me up by my offer to take Financial Peace University.
That's a great place to
start. It will change your life. I'm speaking as a pastor who everybody thinks they should have their lives together. Guess what? We don't. But my life is a lot more together now since taking that than it was beforehand. And once again, any church member who wants to take it, first 3 who contact me, I will pay for your tuition to
Yeah.
do that. But
And friends, like that passion, your passion's real for that. You and I have had quite a few offline conversations about how life-changing that was for you and your family. And so that's real. That's real stuff.
well, and it's still life-changing.
Yes.
Because it's allowing me to live out even more of what God wants me to be,
That's right.
and the generosity and living a life of abundance.
Yes.
And when we say generous givers also as Christians, the word in there also beyond generous is sacrificial.
Yeah.
I've learned that I need to sacrifice certain things in my life because there are other things more important.
Right.
And so it's amazing. But let's talk about fully funding our annual budget, where we are. Here's the reality of things. Our weekly regular offering budget sits about $9,700. You'll see the slide. It says 9,706.
Yeah.
That's what it takes if you take what our budget is, and understand we don't form just a budget willy nilly.
Yeah, and I do want to actually add here that budget that you see, that $505,000 number, that's not actually our whole operating budget. That is just our budget, our anticipated budget for plate and regular offering. So we actually have expenses beyond that are covered through things like building rental, miscellaneous income, and our special missions offerings. So just understand that weekly offering budget doesn't actually cover all of the operating budget. That is just for us to meet the budget that we have established for our regular offering.
Right.
If that brings clarity to that.
You have to remember that we cover most of our missions off of 2 offerings a year.
Yes.
And just some random offering throughout the year, people who give to specific missions, but Easter and Christmas offering funds our missions. But the reality is, when we came up with this budget, this is for staffing, this is for the church, this is to keep lights on, this is all those kind of things.
It's the whole budget.
And so I talked about yesterday that what we don't have, it's a very responsible budget. Your leadership team looks at this. Every church has a little bit of a dream budget. I don't like big dream budgets. This is what we need to do what God is calling us to do, and not even everything God is calling us to do. But the reality is we don't have a spending problem at this church. We have a revenue problem. And
Right.
that's why the staff and the leadership team is also coming up with other ways to do some alternate fundraising.
Right. And so we are
outside
working.
the church.
We are working
through
on that.
grants and things like that.
Right. Grants. We've got, a piece of the reason we'll be doing Cup of Joy is to, add some revenue aside from it being an outreach and mission of this church. But so year to date, actually through the first quarter, so through the end of March, our current weekly regular offering, so of that same budget, was a little over $7,300. So $7,337 was the average. And what that does is it has made us down 24% to our budget year to date. Now, understand if you're actually doing the math, those maths aren't going to add up exactly because our monthly budget varies from month to month based on giving patterns. And so when I pulled an annual number for that first number, it's going to look different. But just believe me, we're down 24% of budget through Q1 in terms of our regular and plate offering.
Is everything stayed steady.
Right.
You're right.
And so...
But we do have good news.
Yeah, we do.
Pledge donations for 2024, we had 50 pledge units representing over half our budget.
Yeah.
Is $271,602 in annual giving. Year to date, pledge giving represents 74% of our regular offering income, our plate income.
Right. So most of the people that are giving in general are people that have pledged and told us they're going to be giving. So our former pattern is that we had sort of a pledge campaign season in the fall. We're going to be changing that a little bit this year. So you'll hear more about that. But that's how that has looked in the past. So those are good numbers.
Right. But
those are good numbers.
But this is a challenge to live out our goal.
Yes.
So here are some steps to increase our regular offering giving. If you haven't, and you are a member of this congregation, complete an estimated giving card.
Yeah.
And follow through to we call them pledge cards, but make renew your commitment to give financially support to the missions and ministries of Jerome Church by completing an estimated giving card.
Right. And I'll put the link in that along with the video description here today. But you can also find that in the Church Center app. And you can still complete one. You can complete one at any time. It doesn't have to happen during that pledge campaign season. So if you call Jerome Church your church home, when you complete an estimated giving card, that's really helping us understand how to budget and how to be good stewards of our resources. So it is not a bill that we're going to send you. It is simply your commitment on what you plan, what you're estimating to give to this church over the course of the year.
Right. Second thing you can do is set up a recurring gift and digitize your giving. This is actually one of the big things. This is what tends to happen with a lot of people. They average church attendance right now is once every 6 weeks.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And so we have very dedicated people who once every 6 weeks come to church and we're their church home. We'd like you to digitize your giving. We have other dedicated people who are here every week, except for they're on vacation or their kid's sports game, and they've made pledges, and then they're unable to follow through with their pledges because they weren't here. They forget about it. Things happen.
Right. So within the Church Center app, which I think is the easiest way to give, you can select ACH as an option, and that is an automatic transfer from your bank. And that has very low fees for both you and for the church. You can even choose to cover those fees if you'd like. Very, very low. I think like 25 cents a transfer, something like that. And so you can choose to do that and set it up in a way so that your giving comes at a regular pattern, whatever you decide. Maybe it's once a month, maybe it's once a week, maybe it's, once a quarter. But you can decide to do that, and that will allow you to continue to consistently give and support the ministries and missions even when you're not here. And friends, we just want you to know, our budget is completely reliant on the generosity of our congregation. We're counting on you. We're counting on all of us, right? That's why this is an important thing that we're spending a little bit of time talking about today.
Right. And then there were also some other interesting numbers as far as people talk about digitizing. They're scared to digitize giving to a church. But that's the way we live our life everywhere else.
Yeah. So our current, Mark White, who's one of our financial people on the board, did some data and statistics for us here.
He would not admit this with his dry sense of humor, but brilliant.
He loves the data more than I do, truly.
It's sickness.
Yeah.
It's a sickness.
But Mark he did some great numbers. And one of the things he came up with is that currently our pattern here at Jerome Church is that about 75%, I think it's between 70 and 75% of our current giving comes by check or cash. Now, if you look in the marketplace, like, the rest of our world, that is flipped. So about 80% of purchases in the marketplace happen digitally. So either through, credit card, and we're not necessarily recommending that you use a credit card to give here, or, through some kind of bank transfer like ACH. And so what we're hoping to do is really this two-part thing is to help people set up a recurring gift so that it's something that happens even when you're not here, and also to switch over from that cash or check giving to digitize your giving. It makes it simpler for you and a little cleaner, maybe for your own statements, and it just really helps us stay up to date with the way that the world is working. So we want to make that easier for you. If you've got any questions on that, Alise Rich is the one that can help you set up all of those things, and then Melissa White can help with some of that as well.
Right.
So.
Also, we want you to take the next step in giving. Here's the fact of the matter, folks, is the minimum is the tithe. Now, tithing's hard. I've been there. We're at a place where my family was split on this, where I tithed and parts of my family could not. And so we go through that. So I understand if you're working to the tithe. Allow us to help you through things like Financial Peace University, and we'll have other resources coming up for that also. But the expectation is the tithe. I'm not going to be shy about that. I've been there. I get it. But the expectation is the tithe. So we want to help you work towards the tithe to reach the expectation. Okay. And the ideal would be something we call second mile giving beyond the tithe.
Right. Giving to additional needs as they're available.
And so pray about the tithe. See how you can live out the tithe. See how we can help you live out the tithe. But then also, if you're tithing, ask what your next step is.
Right. And you may want to think about your giving as a percentage of your income. Maybe you can take a step up of 1% more or 0.5%, but think of it that way. So as we move along, our second goal to develop, really this idea of extravagant generosity is that we want to develop generous givers. And we've spent a little bit of time on this already, but we want to talk about the ways that we're going to be committed to developing a congregation of generous givers. And we're going to do that by practicing gratitude and creating opportunities for financial education and personal growth. So first of all, we're going to say thanks and we're going to celebrate. We have a very limited number of paid staff people who have full disclosure on financials and giving here at the church. And of those very few individuals, some are going to be extending thank yous to you when you give, maybe for the first time, or maybe you step up your giving. So don't be surprised if you see a thank you. Just understand that we're looking at that and we want to celebrate with you the next step that you've taken.
Yeah, we that's part of also giving out of our abundance.
That's right.
And so just be prepared for that. Don't be shy about it. We are so appreciative for the support of this ministry and the mission to the church and the call that God has on your life.
Unbelievably so. And so we also, as we mentioned here, and say it again, we want you to be in charge of your family finances. So we're going to create opportunities for you to develop new ways to manage your personal finances. So not just Financial Peace University, although that is, I think, sort of the first and best starting point. But we're even looking at things like bringing in some financial advisors to talk about ways to look at retirement. We're talking about, we've got a lot of people kind of living in that sandwich generation right now, helping people plan for their future while caring for people today.
Yeah, we want to be a church that helps you live out the life God is calling you to live.
Yes. And that looks like your finances. And so, if this feels weird to you, what we want to say is, everybody's talking about money every day. Maybe not always in the church, but we're all talking about it. It is all part of our conversation. So we just want to normalize that here in the church as much as possible.
If you bought a cup of coffee this morning, you thought about how to pay for it.
Yeah, sure did. And so we're going to try to make it less weird and just talk about this is what we need to do in our ministries, and here's our goal to accomplish that.
It's part of our life.
It is. And so finally, this idea, our third goal here of giving out of our abundance, this is my favorite, Pastor Bruce, because I love to dream. You know that. I'm sort of the eternal optimist, and my vision for our extravagant generosity here at Jerome Church, and I know you share this, our vision is we want to be a church who gives extravagantly to our community mission partners. Like, I want to make a substantive difference, not just like little difference, big substantive difference in the lives and ministries of others, helping them fulfill these needs where they're identified. So, we asked yesterday at Vision Sunday for people to kind of dream of the possibilities that we could, what we could do. What is the life change, the impact that Jerome Church could have in our community and our world?
Yeah, like what if not only we built the walls to a house, what if we were able to the family that received that home, give them a $10,000 check for furniture and things?
Amazing, right?
No strings attached, just because God loves you, we love you, and this is how we want to show it.
Seriously, that just gave me goosebump chills. Well, I love that idea. It'd be amazing.
And here's the thing. We serve, and we're going to talk about this more because the other thing you're passionate about is prayer. We're going to get to that in a second.
Yeah.
Is we serve an extravagant, abundant God who has just poured out love upon us in very tangible ways.
And that's why that extravagant part comes ahead of the generosity.
Yeah. What if we could fund a missionary for a year?
Unreal.
Send all our students on a mission trip where they didn't have to worry about paying for it.
Would love it.
To the diaper ministry. We talked about 20%, 60,000 diapers is 20%.
Yeah.
Okay, multiply that by 5. So what if we could supply 300,000 diapers?
The idea blows my mind, but yet I know it's possible, right? Because we serve a God of abundance. So I think the question here is, go ahead.
What's your what if?
Yeah, what's your what if?
What is the God dream that God has placed on our hearts that we as Jerome can possibly help meet? What if?
Yeah. I love this part more. And there's nothing I would love more than to be looking at a church budget where we say we've got $100,000 to give away this year. Right? We're going to give it to places and to organizations where this makes an incredible difference for them. that is just an absolute dream of mine as an executive director here. I'd love nothing more than that. It would be incredible.
Yeah, it'd be phenomenal. But we have to start someplace.
We do.
And that place is going to be through our breakthrough prayer.
Absolutely is. So, breakthrough vision, Pastor Bruce, requires breakthrough prayer. And you did, I think, kind of tease this. Prayer is something I am so passionate about, and I would say has not always been something I've been so passionate about. It has been a newer passion growing in my life, and this understanding that breakthrough prayer, is something we have to be doing as Christians. And so we created together, along with our staff here, this idea. We're going to launch a new breakthrough prayer initiative, and it is based off of Ephesians 3:20.
Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is work within us.
Yes. One of my favorite scriptures. It is really so powerful and such a good reminder. As we look at other translations of this verse, we see words that come out that are things like exceedingly, abundantly above, far more, super abundantly. One of my favorites.
I love that one.
I like that one. Far beyond, exceedingly, above all. It's not a little bit. Okay. It's like this word, no matter what translation you're looking at it in, that immeasurably word is literally immeasurable. It is more than we can imagine.
Well, and I can't remember the book we were reading a couple studies ago where it talked about our understanding of God being so limited, but God is spread so wide across this creation, across the universe that we can't even imagine.
We can't.
It's beyond our mere thought.
And I think our challenge when we talk about having an abundance mindset, it's not just about money. I mean, it is about vision as well. It is about answered prayer.
It's about everything. It's
about everything. And it's this idea that when we have an abundance mindset, we believe that God is so capable, God is able, that our dreams are not limited.
Well, and Jesus tells us that we will do more than he will.
Right. That's a challenge. It really is.
Go and do more. And I'm not talking about he died for our sins. That's something we can't do.
Correct.
But the aspect of that we can heal, we can feed the hungry. He fed 5,000 with a couple fish and some loaves of bread. We can do more.
We sure can. And so we're going to respond beginning this next Sunday on April 21st. We're going to launch our new Breakthrough Prayer Initiative. If you're looking at it on the screen, on the slide, you've actually got a picture of our new sticker that we're going to be handing out. You can put that on a water bottle, on your computer, something to remind you. But we're going to be sharing some additional resources along with that, including ways to remember the prayer, and we're actually going to have some maps for people to do prayer circling. So if you want to go prayer circle in our community, we're going to have ways and resources for you to pick that up.
And you'll probably we'll probably do a little podcast segment on that or something.
I'm positive that we will. And, we also are going to set up this expectation that we want you to pray at 3:20. You can choose AM or PM. I mean, I certainly have my bias to 3:20 PM, I think is the time I will choose. But we want you to set your alarm and, pick up a prayer circle and be a part of this because, friends, this vision, again, is just going to fall if we don't bring God into it.
Yeah.
Right? It's not our vision. It's God's vision. And we're charged with living that out. So, Pastor Bruce, would you close in prayer for us today with this new breakthrough prayer?
Yes.
Would you do that?
Let us pray. God, all glory to you who is able to do abundantly more than we can ever ask or imagine. Use your power at work within us to guide Jerome Church to live out your mission of loving you, loving people, and making world-changing disciples of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. And then finally, friends, we want to thank you for spending time for us today. We know this is pretty long, but just so much information, kind of nothing to cut out here. It's all great stuff. So if you have more questions, we want to encourage you, find a staff member if you're here on a Sunday morning, or, email us at info@jeromechurch.org, and we will route your question to the right place. You can call the church office at 614-873-8851, and we'll get you connected to the right people. But we are here. We are ready. We are excited to help. We cannot wait to keep doing the work of loving God, loving people, and making world-changing disciples with you.
Have a blessed week, friends.